Welcome to another video with my Lupo 3L. Today we want to remove the gearbox. So we already prepared everything last time. So we removed all the hydraulic elements and I also put the bridge on to hold the engine in place. Basically it's relatively straightforward once all the hydraulic stuff is gone because you can reach everything very easily. You just take all the screws to the engine out and remove the holder, the brackets of the gearbox, and then you should be able to pull it out. So let's see how it goes. So it's quite a job to do this by yourself and also with the smaller lift because I don't really have a gearbox holder or any support underneath. So I couldn't show you how I took it out. It's already here. I had to use this table, then lift it myself. Good thing is it's not very heavy, but it was quite a job to get it out, to wiggle it out of everything. I can show you here the drive shaft. I was just covering it at the front, and then it's not so easy to get around the subframe here because the gearbox is stuck on there. So you need to rotate it a bit, but in the end it works quite nicely. It would just be much easier with a proper gearbox like lift unit or something like this. Which I cannot really use the standard ones because this lift is too low and I can't really have the car higher here because the ceiling isn't that high in this room. So let's take a closer look at this gearbox. And the first thing we can see is that there is some silver paint on it, which is never a good sign. My problem with the gearbox was that it was making very loud noises on the first test drive. And that's why I took it out. And this is the DSK gearbox. You can find the stuff up here. It's really hard to see, but you can see D, S, and K here, which means that is the very first gearbox of the Lupo, which is not a surprise because this is the very first Lupo, like from 1999 when it came out. This is basically a petrol engine gearbox that VW used because it's lighter. So in order to save weight. And another cool thing is that if you work on this car, you find so many places where they just saved a lot of weight. For example, the drive shafts are not really fixed by the screw in the center. They're actually glued to the bearing. And then this screw is a lot thinner, a lot smaller than a normal screw, so it's much lighter. But yeah, they're glued in place, so that's special. For the Lupo 3L only, the normal Lupos do it like every other car, but Lupo 3L is always special. So then they had the problem with this gearbox that it's too weak because it's a petrol engine gearbox and now it's running with this diesel engine. It's only a small 1.2 liter diesel, but still it's more torque and that's why they start failing. One problem is the diff. So the diff is not strong enough, so the following gearbox generations from 2001, I think, had a reinforced diff. And another problem is that this interior or this internal bearing inside can't really deal with the torque and then is grinding into the case. And you can always hear that when it's like a grinding noise when you're going off the throttle. And that's exactly what my gearbox did. And actually, if you look inside here, you can see that this bearing actually doesn't look too bad. That's okay. So that was a bit strange because these levers here look really bad. And at the same time, we have the silver paint on the gearbox. All around, I found a lot of signs that someone already worked on this car. So I want to show you the bracket. So this is the bracket of the gearbox, which I took out so I have more space. And you can see that this screw and this screw, they're original and this one is not. So someone before me already did this job. They already took the gearbox out and they somehow tried to fix it before us because it looks like they used to have this problem already. So one part that's always worn out is usually this, and that's still okay. So the next thing is this bearing. The bearing looks okay, so they changed that, but they didn't change this lever. And you can see how extremely worn that is. Can you see this orange-like color here. So this is supposed to be super nice and round, which is now pretty flat here. So we will also swap this lever. And then if you look a bit closer, you can see that what happened here. Someone was trying to fix the gearbox because I think they already had this bearing problem, so that the bearing collapsed inside. The bearing was like grinding into this case, and then they even welded it here. So they, if you look down here, you can see some welding marks. So they tried to weld the aluminum gearbox, and then they just glued it. So I think there was a big problem with this gearbox before. They somehow tried to fix it, didn't fix it completely, and then I had the problem now again. So what we're going to do is we will put in a new revised gearbox. I will try to get the DSK again, so the original one, for this Lupo. And yeah, then we should have a nicely working car. It's just going to be quite a job to get the gearbox back in here with the arrangement that I have, because if the gearbox is on that table, I can't get it underneath the car, so I somehow need to lift it there, or maybe I can get myself some kind of lifting system. So that's the current status. Gearbox is out. I will just clean the gearbox, remove all the additional sensors and clips that I could still use, and then I will try to find a revised gearbox and put it in, and we should have a nicely working car. Stay tuned and see you at the next video.